All right, apologies. We're going to have to leave that, unfortunately. As you heard there, it was very difficult to make out what Lucia Newman was saying. Obviously, a chaotic situation around that border region of Venezuela. We're joined now by Isaias Medina in Cambridge, in the U.S. state of Massachusetts. He is a former Venezuelan diplomat who resigned last year over what he considered grave human rights violations by Maduro's government. Thanks very much for being with us. So obviously a very fluid situation there in Venezuela. What do you make of what is happening there right now after days of standoff in which nothing much really happened?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Hassan, and thanks Al Jazeera for all its support from the get-go. Since 2017, we've been working on this, and of course, this humanitarian apocalypse has now spread into the hearts of many nations. We see the solidarity of our friends and allies. Like Venezuela was part of the allies to fight the Nazis, now we see our allies standing up, rising up together in solidarity. We've seen presidents from Paraguay, presidents from Chile, the Secretary General Luis Almagro standing beside our interim constitutional president. We see Brazil standing up. The United States of America has sent hundreds of tons of humanitarian aid. And this is a victory. This is a victory of music, solidarity, and a non-violent resistance movement that has broken the myth of the military intervention just to bring aid to people in need. We have been imposed and induced a humanitarian crisis for a very harsh and criminal regime just to maintain in power. But today is a victorious day. So we've seen from three different areas in Venezuela, Cucuta, Ureña, and Paracaima, in very close to the border in Brazil, where already two of these places have opened up, have entered, and have brought some of this symbolic humanitarian aid, because these 14 or 16 or not even 500 tons of humanitarian aid would be enough or suffice to solve the issue in Venezuela. But then, on the other hand, we also see how yesterday this conflict clashes with the native indigenous population of the Pemones on the border of Brazil, has brought already casualties. 2 are dead, 50 are injured, and still there is a very difficult tension going on there. Also in Ureña, this is the state Táchira that has been trying to bring this humanitarian aid, and it's clashing with the national forces because there is a monopoly of force and violence by this regime. And you can see on the other hand, our interim constitutional president is acting always building bridges of peace, bringing an amnesty with the National Assembly, and more than 90% of the population are standing behind him. You have noticed that 2 sergeants of the National Guard today crossed the border and expressed their solidarity.
Just to pick up on some of that. I mean, you mentioned the officers who defected. I mean, it's just a tiny percentage at this point. And it's going to need a lot more than that, a lot more officers than that to defect if the tide is going to turn in your favor. And as you say as well, it's only been a few trucks that have got in to the border. So in practical terms, is all of this really making a difference inside Venezuela?
You're right, Hazem. It has not been enough. It's very slowly. You know, 80% of the militaries are also under a lot of stress. Their families are being threatened. At least we have 200 military prisoners that have been tortured as we speak, as much as 1,000 civilian military prisoners. And this is not has not come to a stop. This is a symbolic show of how nonviolence resistance is trying to open up a discussion and negotiation, because in my understanding, when you have 40% of the country already taken over by FARC, ELN, and Hezbollah, this is a very difficult situation. Of course, it has become an international conflict. I must say that needs resolution, preferably peaceful resolution. But we have the economic cloud of China. We have the military footprint of Russia. We have Cuban agents infiltrating the armed forces and making decisions. There was I don't know if you've heard this recording today, of the Cuban agents giving instructions to our armed forces. So there is absolutely agree with you. There is very complex situation, but this is a great start. We are showing a different way for dispute resolution. It is not violent. It has become a peaceful force of mass display around the world on how Venezuela and other countries around Latin America have come together to show a different way out. And I think today, peace has become a victory for the world to see what is going on. And this is a time for the regime to rethink their strategies and try to come to a table as serious enough.
We're gonna have to leave it there. Appreciate you talking to us, Isaias Medina in Cambridge, Massachusetts, former Venezuelan diplomat who is now supporting opposition leader Juan Guaido. Thanks very much for being with us. Lots more ahead.